Okay, this section that we're looking at is just religion in a global context. So it links in quite nicely with in terms of the ideas of secularization. So globalization obviously has undergone a rapid growth in terms of how interconnected the world is now. And we're just going to look throughout this PowerPoint as to how this has therefore influenced religion within various societies. Now, religion has long existed in a worldwide context, and it has been described as the original globalizer because for centuries the major religions have spread across the world through conquest, so obviously people dominating and taking control within some countries, by which then they force those people to adhere to that moral principle of those religions, as well as that also colonization and migration, and that is the natural spread of that religious doctrine and dogma. Now, the world today is more interconnected than it ever has been, and this is because of the process of globalization. Now, the person that we're really going to be looking at as a main focus is Miranda's book, God and Globalization, which examines the role of Hinduism, so the religion of 85% of the population in India, in legitimating both the rise of new Hindu ultra-nationalism and the prosperity of the Indian middle classes. However, before we really get into that, we need to really adhere and understand what the consequences are of the globalization. So as societies and religion come into close contact with each other, there's potential for religious conflict and for religious diversity and change. So there may be conflicts in terms of the different ideologies, as we know if we use Samuel Huntington's theory of clash of the civilizations. If we've got Islam and the West coming into one society, inevitably there will be some form of conflict. As well as that, with a diversity and change, there could be a shift within some communities in terms of how important they see religion is anymore. Now, when one society or state dominates another, people may use religion to explain and resist their domination. So if, for example, UK goes and colonises another country, then we might see an uprise from those individuals which may use religion as a unifying force to go against their oppressors. Cultural and social changes brought by globalisation may threaten cherished values and lead to some to turn the certainties promised by fundamentalism. So basically, individuals may feel that they can turn to fundamentalism because it's going to provide them with certainty, and therefore they're not going to take the risk that they're not going to do whatever they can to be one of the saved. They will follow those strict moral codes that will be put in place. Now, religious ideas lead some people to act in new ways that encourage economic development in less developed countries. If we use Max Weber's Spiritual Capitalism as a good example, we can see with the increase of Calvinism, we saw a shift in terms of the economic base. Now, from this, what we can see is obviously we've got the arguments of secularization. We're going to see that maybe with the increased globalization, people may start to see religion as less important, or the importance of that religion may separate from the state even more so. Science, technology and rationalization will start to destroy supernatural entities, as well as it will demystify our modern world as well. On the other hand, religion may contribute to development, so again referencing Weber and the Protestant work ethic. Now, more recently, sociologists have examined what role religion may play in development in today's globalizing world. Now, this is really where we're going to get into what is happening in these various countries and why is it happening. Now, globalization has obviously brought a rapid economic growth and has seen India become a more important player in terms of the world political stage. It is one of those countries by which it is one to watch because it is rapidly developing at a substantial pace. Now, Miranda's book, God and Globalization, as I referenced earlier, examines the role of Hinduism, which is 85% of the Indian population. Now, this is a way of legitimating both the rise of new Hindu ultra-nationalism and the prosperity of the Indian middle class. So we're going to see how they are all interlinked with one another. Now, what has globalization really done here? So globalization has created a prosperous, scientifically educated urban middle class in India, by which they are aware of what is going on within their societies. So therefore, they'll be more inclined to turn away from religion, seemingly because they have got the educational knowledge. Now, secularization theory predicts that these people will be the first to abandon religion. However, Nanda observes that the majority of these middle class continue to believe in the supernatural. As well as that, in terms of Hinduism, majority of these families will have their own personal gods by which they will use to follow and adhere to strict spiritual codes too. Now, within this section, I got you guys to use the web book just to make a few notes off of it. So I'm just going to read some of the areas that we've spoken about. So, a survey by the Centre for the Study of Development Societies in 2007 found that Indians are becoming more religious. Only 5% said their religiosity had declined in the last 5 years, while 30% said that they had become more religious. The survey also found that urban educated Indians are more religious than the rural illiterate counterparts. Increased interest in religion has also been reflected in dramatic growth of religious tourism, such as visits to shrines and temples. Nanda notes that it's become more fashionable to be religious and to be seen to do so. Now, another feature of this middle-class religiosity is that they are attracted to what were once low-status village gods and goddesses worshipped by the poor. This is because these deities are seen as being more responsive to people's needs than traditional Hindu great gods. Now, Nanda examines what motivates the sophisticated urban middle class to continue to believe in miracles and supernatural beings. She rejects poverty and existential insecurity, and as an explanation, because they are not poor. She also rejects the idea that religiosity is a defense reaction to modernization and westernization. On the contrary, the Indian middle classes are optimistic about the opportunities that globalization brings to them. Instead, Nanda argues that increasing religiosity is a result of their ambivalence about the newfound wealth. Now, Nanda examines the Hindu Ultra-nationalism survey and found that 93% of Indians agreed that the statement that our people are not perfect, but our culture is superior to others. Now, that means that what they're seeing there is that they believe that their religion is the one that is above and better of that of anyone else. Now, Hindu values constantly promoted through the media and politicians. Hinduism is the essence of Indian culture and identity, so it's central to individuals explaining how and why they live their life the way that they do. Now, Hinduism as a result has become a civil religion because it become a component of the nation of India as well as that of individuals. So when individuals are worshipping Hinduism, they are in self worshipping their society. Now, by worshipping Hindu gods, they are worshipping the nation of India as a result. Now, obviously, as a result of that, an advantage of it is that they are going to be increasingly more interconnected to one another. Now, this little section here is we looked at examples. Now, again, it came from the web book, so I'm just going to read it for you. Now, Hinduism has also penetrated public life so that the supposedly secular state is increasingly influenced by religion. So, for example, in education, Hindu sciences such as astrology are being taught as academic subjects in public universities and being used supposedly to predict earthquakes and natural disasters. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defence is sponsoring research and development of weapons and devices with magical powers, mentioning in the ancient Hindu texts. And the Health Ministry is investing in research development and the sale of cow urine. Now, cows being the sacred animals of India, obviously they're allowed to wander about and they are allowed to be revered and held in awe within that community. Now, their urine is seen as a cure for every ailment. That's from AIDS to TB. Now, in lesson we spoke about this and about how actually within most societies this is something which they do hold and they do use as a way of saying this is why we should believe in what we're doing. Now, capitalism in East Asia. So in recent decades, the so-called East Asian tiger economies such as South Korea, Singapore and Taiwan have successfully industrialized and become powerhouses within the world's economy and political stage. Now, sociologists have suggested that this is due to the concepts similar to Protestant ethic in Calvinism. Now, this is by which the religion and the spiritual belief system that is in place has allowed for capitalism and the economic base to shift to allow China to really take this place. Now, religion's bringing about social change and development. So this is where we can see it's leading to capitalism. Now, Gordon Redding describes the spirit of capitalism amongst Chinese entrepreneurs in the tiger economies. He sees this post-Confucian values encouraging hard work, self-discipline, frugality, and commitment to education and self-improvement. Confucianism is a traditional Chinese belief system. Now, the effect of this value system is similar to that of Protestant ethic, in that it leads to economic productivity and an accumulation of capital as a result. Now, the last bit that we're looking at is Pentecostalism, global and local. So, in the last 5 centuries, Christianity has globalized itself by expanding out of Europe, first in South America and then into Africa. Now, David Lenham attributes the success of Pentecostalism as a global religion is in part due to its ability to incorporate local beliefs. Now, through imagery and symbolism drawn from local cultures and existing religious beliefs, it has allowed for it to itself to really acclimatize as well as to entice people into believing in Pentecostalism. Now, as a result of this ability to adapt to local customs and establish a local identity for itself, it's therefore growing in terms of its importance within those people who believe in it. Now, Pentecostalism has been successful in developing countries because its appeal to poor, also it uses global communications media to spread its message along with road shows and world tours. So it's not something by which it is a unique small little feature. It is now understanding that you've got to use modernity to your benefit, and one way to do so is utilising those modern sources. So that's it for today, guys. If you've got any questions, let me know.